And so for us, Zion actually means righteous living.
Okay.
The need to pursue righteous living, the need to pursue African unity, the need to pursue African liberation, the need to pursue Pan Africanism.
Now, there's the impressive lesson that I see, what is so touching, in fact, is the fact that a grown-up boy, one who wore the uniform in the morning and under the pretext that he's going to school, later on, leading into class rather, his uniform, he found him in the streets. And today, it can be transformed. You see, many of our young people today, what comes to your mind? How do you think they can be a replica of Borka Estware?
I think that the young people need support. The young people need support. They need an African education, an education that gears them for African unity and for African liberation. I think that a lot of the education that we're receiving, and I saw that when I was at St. Patrick's Elementary as well as at Riggs. That education prepares us for academic, but it doesn't prepare us for nation building.
Okay.
It does not prepare us for um, building African unity and African liberation. And in fact, what it does is it prepares us to leave Liberia and perhaps not come back. And I saw that even in my dissertation, because my dissertation was on African students in the United States. And I saw that uh, about half of them were not returning to African countries after these nations had invested tremendous amount of money in them, and it was due to my view a miseducation, because every nation has to educate its people
You sure do.
for the purpose of nation building. Um, and what we have in Liberia and in other African countries is a very European or American style education that does not prepare us for building our nation. It prepares us for building other people's nations. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why many young people in Liberia cannot wait to find their way out of Liberia, when in fact their salvation will not be found outside of Liberia or outside of Africa.
How does one secure a copy of this book?
Gronan Borgo Zion, a roadmap to African psychology, will be made available tomorrow. I am working with a group, the Imperial Castle International, and we are scheduled to have a coronation celebration tomorrow
Okay.
uh, at South Beach, near Mamam Point, at JR Beach. And JR Beach is one of the beaches on South Beach. And so at the coronation um, celebration tomorrow, I will introduce the book, and the book will be available for purchase at that event. Um, I'm also looking at making it available at some other sites, particularly restaurants. One restaurant that I've already talked to
Okay.
is Joanna, and Joanna's restaurant is on Ashman Street. And I've talked to the folks there, so I will leave a few books there where if you're interested, you can go there and purchase the book at Joanna on Front Street.
How affordable would that be?
The book costs $15.
Okay.
Is the second of my books. The first one was called Which Way Liberia, The Gun or the Book. And I will have that available too tomorrow at the celebration. So both books will be available tomorrow at the celebration.
How much did you spend How much did you invest in trying to get this book produced?
Um, the book was an effort by myself and the community that I came out of, because I helped to develop a community around me in the U.S.,
Okay.
particularly in Dayton. I helped to develop Dayton Africana Elders Council, and in fact, they're the one that inspired the book. That means they encouraged me to write this book because they told me that you need to leave something for the next generation.
Surely.
Um, the introduction to the book was one of my colleagues who I worked with for 35 years, again as a college professor. And then the forward of the book is one of my mentees, someone that I mentored, and he talked about how his life was transformed by our interaction. And the publisher of the book is actually the mother of my mentee. So she basically has a publishing company, and I reached out to her because I knew that she had a publishing company, and told her that this is what I wanted to do. And so it cost me about $4,000 to $5,000 to publish this book.
$4,000 to $5,000.
Yeah.
How many copies did you publish?
I
Did you produce?
Currently I have the book is on Amazon.com. So it's published. It can be acquired worldwide on Amazon.com. I also have it on my website, boyka.twe. No, boyka.twe.com. You can go and you can purchase that. But in my possession, I have about 200 copies. In fact, I have shipped a few copies, and they should be arriving this week. About 100 copies will be available for purchase here in Liberia. And I've also sold about 100, 150 copies in the U.S. already, personally.
Finally, I'm sure we'll be taking leave of you very shortly. First, let me ask, is your mother still alive?
No, my mother has passed, and my stepfather has passed. So the late Elizabeth Gibson, Flowers Gibson, died 2019. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I came home to spend the last days with her. So I moved back here in 2019 to spend some time with her, and she passed in November. In fact, this month, 2 years ago.
I'm sure she's having a perfect rest, especially a child, her son who became a grown-up boy, and now today is an author. I'm sure she's joyous wherever she is.
I hope that she is, and I know she is because I always feel her presence. In fact, she again encouraged me to return home, and I built a house in Broville on a piece of land that she had left for me. So I'm always
Around her.
around her.
Okay, so what's your parting comment so we can take leave of you quickly?
I want to invite everyone who can to come out tomorrow to JR Beach beginning at 12 noon.
Okay.
The programming will begin maybe at 4. We have live reggae music. We have arts and craft for people to see. We will also, and sold. I will have my books. I will introduce my books for purchase. There will be perhaps poetry and drama as well. But we're celebrating Emperor Haile Selassie and Empress Menen Asfad coronation.
Okay.
The coronation was in 1930, and at that time, Liberia and Ethiopia were the only two sovereign nations on the continent of Africa. And European nations and the rest of the world just felt that Africa was the dark continent and that there was nothing of value, there was no civilization here.
Surely.
But then you had this coronation where 72 nations sent representatives, including the United States and the British Empire, to observe the coronation of the emperor and the empress. The coronation took 5 hours, and 29 bishops and priests were present. And they were chanting in 7 corners of the National Cathedral for 7 days and 7 nights. And they were chanting 9 Psalms of David. At the end of the ceremony, the bishops and the priests begin to chant, "Blessed be the King of Israel." What basically happened there is that the Emperor Haile Selassie was crowned King of Kings, Lords of Lords, the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah on November 2nd, 1930. And that is what we're celebrating tomorrow.
Many thanks, and many thanks. We really appreciate your time this morning, Mr. Borges Tua. Mr. Tua is a Liberian author. They wrote a book called Grown Up Boy Goes I. We've been talking about the contents of the book. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now,
Can we take picture?